Think again, guys. Promiscuity and mean girls are out, and modesty and class are in. What's up, guys? Welcome to Coffee with Cassie. I am Cassie, and this is my coffee. As you can tell, I am ready for the fall season. I am just so excited to talk about this subject today because I just feel like this topic in general was really exciting to me, and I was like, yes, this is definitely finally a trend bandwagon I can hop on. Now, a lot of you guys have probably already heard of this demure trend, and I'm probably super behind. I usually try to stay off social media as much as possible. I obviously do have to get on social media for certain research items, but I try my best to stay off when it's not necessary. This being said, I'm usually behind on trends, which I normally don't mind because most of the trends I usually find obnoxious, but this one in particular is amazing. I love this trend. So for those of you who don't know, I highly doubt I'm probably the last person on earth to know, but it's a very demure, very mindful, very cutesy, very grateful trend. And I know that maybe that's not even enough context, but it all started with a TikToker who made this video giving advice to people on how to be more mindful of those around you and the importance of presenting yourself in a very dignified manner.
I'm feeling flirtatious. Come hither.
Now, this is a trend I can get behind 100% because I definitely agree that one should present themselves in the most mindful, dignified, responsible, and graceful way as possible. I fall short of it sometimes, but I think it's just a good mentality to have. Now, granted, I did learn this from my mom and my dad, but hey, there are those who have not learned it. So if this TikToker is gonna go viral for something like this, then so be it. I think this is a great lesson to be learned. This trend, very demure, very mindful, very cutesy, very grateful, very polite, very graceful.
A princess.
I love it. These are all good things. I mean, we can't complain about any of these items. Now, the fact that it took a TikTok to learn this is a little bit sad in my opinion. But again, not all people were raised by people who instill these types of values in them. Don't feel bad if you're still not getting it. It took me a bit to understand what was going on because I had no context in the beginning. Like, why the heck is everyone just saying the word demure? And guys, it's actually a very interesting phenomenon because it's a very simple advice. And everyone's probably wondering, why is this going viral now? But I honestly think it's just the way it was communicated. It was communicated in a very non-threatening way. It wasn't meant to attack anyone or criticize anyone or I'm holier than thou, I'm better than thou type of manner. It was like a very friendly type of advice. Anyways, it became this big trend. And honestly, I think a lot of older generations may be like, well, I already knew all this. But I think it resonated primarily with younger generations, especially Gen Zers and Gen Alphas. And it's really interesting because this is very much the way Gen Z and Gen Alpha learn. I don't know what it is. I could be totally wrong about this, but it seems like Gen Z and Gen Alpha typically learn with catchphrases or catchwords, just like buzzwords. Maybe that's another factor in this phenomenon. I don't know. So although I do believe these are traits and values that we probably should have already learned, there's always another way to learn, and it's never too late to learn, so I'm not complaining. But for those of you who are a little older, maybe you have a younger sister, a younger cousin, I guarantee you if you say the word demure to describe something, they will probably do a double take. Like, what the heck? How do you know what that means?
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Again, I feel very blessed that I was raised by parents who really instilled their values of being classy and carrying myself in a dignified manner. So these were things I already learned, but I understand that not everyone had that great of an influence or that type of mentor in their life. So if this is the way that that generation learns, then great. I mean, it's basically parenting an entire generation in a way that they understand and are receptive to. Something that I'm especially loving is also having accountability and owning up to your own mistakes, your own actions. And I really like accountability. I think learning how to take accountability for one's actions, I think that's a really, really important lesson in life. My parents have taught me this in many, many different ways, but I always remember one particular thing that my dad would always tell me. He would always say 90% of people's problems are caused by the person looking back at you when you're brushing your teeth. AKA, my parents taught me to own up to my mistakes and to learn from them, not to hide from them, not to victimize myself, not to blame other people. To this day, I firmly believe that if I'm rude to someone or I treat somebody badly, that my mom will teleport out of nowhere with a chancla in one hand and a bottle of her spiciest salsa in the other. Yeah, I would not be surprised if a chancla just came flying out of nowhere. and hit me.
Dale!
This actually also makes me think a lot about Japan. Japanese culture is all about being polite and mindful of others. I feel like they're some of the kindest people to interact with. They're very, very kind, very, very patient and soft-spoken. And I want to say like the majority of the people dress very modestly. I also think we should talk about how this should be applicable not just in everyday interaction with people, but in your everyday life, in your marriage, with your relationships, family members, friends, to be considerate, kind, and mindful. It's a good reminder because it's really easy to be kind to a stranger, or maybe you're not, maybe you are not kind with strangers. It's a little bit easier to be kinder with strangers because they haven't done anything necessarily to you, whereas sometimes if you're like with family, you're really close to them, and so maybe you're having a bad day, and you just, some like little minor things that your family member does irritates you, and so you go off on them, and then you're not mindful, you're not considerate, you're not graceful, you're not nothing, blah, blah, blah. You're the complete opposite of demure. You're anti-mure. No, but being serious, guys, this is a great reminder to ourselves that we should be demure in all areas of our lives and try to maybe even just say it in your head. Maybe you're irritated, you haven't had your coffee yet, and your brother says something that really annoys you. Be demure. Be demure. Be demure. Maybe it's just a good little reminder just to remind yourself on how to carry yourself, because most of the time sometimes I can be very impatient, and this is an area that I need to work on. But I've noticed that I always regret how I act. Like I'm always, oh my gosh, I feel so guilty right after. And if I could have just reminded myself, you know, I always regret being mean to someone. There's never really been a time that I've been mean and then not regretted it. So if that's the case, and I know that about myself, then I can always tell myself, Cassandra, you're gonna regret this. You're gonna regret this later. So just be demure. Just be demure.
Just do it!
I think even just being considerate of others, that's another thing too, is sometimes we're all in our own world, in our own bubble. Social media hasn't helped this, obviously, being COVID lockdowns and everything. Everyone kind of disconnected and didn't know how to think about other people. No one's really putting themselves in other people's shoes, and so we're so out of touch with how things come across. And just being mindful and being considerate of other people around you, I think has been lost. If you've been in an airplane, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Ask any flight attendant. Guys, it is nuts. I mean, every single flight, there's always someone who's very irritable. There's someone who always mistreats the flight attendants, who's unkind, very selfish in my opinion. They just speak to them in a way like they're their servant or something.
How am I supposed to eat this pizza without my drink?
And I feel like, I almost feel like, how are you not like self-aware enough to realize how you come across? You're not even at least embarrassed that everyone else is hearing you. It's already bad enough when people do this in secret, or like when there's no one really around looking or a camera. But there are people who have no shame. People are sitting around them, hearing their conversation, hearing this person's really mean rant or annoyance, and they have no shame. They don't even, it's like they're in their own little bubble, their own little world. Or honestly, quite frankly, I think people just don't care. And they're just very not demure. And to put it quite simply, I just find it so annoying to see people act like that in just public spaces. Because like I said, it's already bad enough to do it in secret, and then to do it in public and not to care. And then you make other people annoyed. And then not only that, it starts to become the norm. Now you get so used to seeing people be rude to people or annoyed with others or speak to people with such disrespect, and then that becomes normal. So then maybe it trickles down to eventually more and more people start speaking like that, and then next thing you know, you're the person speaking like that because you think it's normal, because you think it's totally accepted, that the society accepts being rude to people. But in reality, you all just look like really mean people.
You call yourself a delivery boy? Well, I ain't buying!
Now, this is not to say that if you don't see something wrong or there's just something that's not right, you should speak up, but there is a demure way to do so. Now, for my fellow lads out there, this is pretty much like Jordan Peterson's message about clean your room. So this is definitely like a version of that, to clean your room. Take care of yourself. Before you start criticizing other people or trying to fix other people's problems, you really should fix your own house first, because that's when you can do the best work, is when you are responsible, you clean your own room, you take accountability and responsibility for your own items, your own behavior, and your own problems in your life. And then once you fix that, then you can be more useful in terms of helping other people fix their problems. Aside from my parents, I remember also there is our principal. I don't remember if it was middle school or elementary, but we used to have these announcements. And I remember the principal always saying something like, "Let's make it a good day or not. The choice is yours. And it used to be really annoying to me because he said it literally after every single morning announcement. And so everyone would kind of roll their eyes every time he said it. But you know what's funny is it stuck with me. Here I am, years later, still remembering that. Make it a great day or not. The choice is yours. Because it's so true and it's so simple. It's funny how that happens, right? That sometimes the most profound advice is just the most simple advice. My dad's like that. Most of his words of wisdom are usually very simple phrases that maybe in the moment I'm like, yeah, dad, whatever. And then later realize, wow, it really stuck with me, right? And so you would be really shocked just to know that sometimes things can be communicated, sometimes lessons can be communicated in a very simple way. You don't have to make it overly complex. Not everything needs to be taught in a complex way, but sometimes just using simple words, simple phrases can help people grasp the meaning behind something. Anyways, I just remember that. I still remember to this day because it allows me, if things aren't going well in my life or things aren't going well in my day or I'm just having a bad day, things are happening and this is the situation I'm in. But ultimately, it's up to me on whether or not I choose to have a good day, on whether or not I choose to let certain things affect or ruin my day. Ultimately, that's my choice, right? And I'm Catholic, so I think that God is the one who gives us all the good gifts in our lives. But ultimately, it's up to us in our own free will to receive it, to see the gift, to be grateful, to see the day as a good day or a bad day. By what we focus on and how we respond to things, it could be a very rough day or it could be a very good day. The choice is yours. Something else about this trend that maybe not everyone would agree on, or maybe some people in the past might have called this misogynistic, is the idea of smiling more. That's part of being demure, being very kind, very warm. Usually when you smile more, you come across as a more approachable person. You come across as a more friendly, warm person. Nobody likes to be frowned at. If you do, I don't even know what to say. Typically, people are receptive to smiles. Typically, people have positive emotions when they see someone smile. So smiling more not only helps you as a person kind of exude that positivity, that demure behavior or demure attitude, but also you are being considerate of other people. You make people more comfortable being around you and not, you're more approachable. There's, like everyone's heard of the natural resting mean face. So some people just naturally have like a mean looking face. I think I have been told before in the past. Now I smile a lot, but I have been told that sometimes when I'm not smiling, it's just like my resting face, just my like neutral, that I like look like I'm mad. Like 90% of the time, that's not the reason. It's just my resting face. But still, it's good to be cognizant of that because whether I like it or not, that's just how people see it. And, some people may be like, well, we shouldn't have to always smile all the time. But I don't want people to feel like that. Of course, I'm not going to be walking around just like hurting my facial muscles. But the whole idea is to present yourself like that, especially if you're going into an interview, you're meeting up with some people, you want to present your best version of yourself, your most positive version of yourself. You want to exude that. And ultimately, it kind of spreads too. Like, let's just say you're surrounded by people who are whatever, annoyed, angry. You kind of, when you exude that, sometimes it just spreads and other people will be more receptive and you're like, you know what, this chick is cool. Like, I should be cool. Obviously, not to be confused with being overly passive or just smiling and being complacent. It's not so much that. It's about presenting yourself in a very classy and dignified manner, in a very confident manner, but also very humble manner too. Not in a stuck up, pretentious manner. It's very much just being confident, humble, almost like you're just think gratefulness. I'm grateful for your presence. Like smiling kind of says that. When you smile at someone, I'm just really, really grateful that you are here with me, that we're both present to each other, that I'm present here with you. And I'm just very, very grateful for that. And who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love that feeling? Now, guys, I don't know about you, but I've dealt with tons of people who live in the victimhood mentality, the very woe is me mode, constantly victimizing yourself, or just simply complain a lot about issues in life. And everyone's guilty of this. I myself included. It's just, we cannot stay in that state. We shouldn't pity ourselves too much because it ultimately does nothing. It really is that. It's a distraction. It's a place of stagnation. You're not growing. And this is another thing that Demure teaches, is to stop living as a victim and to take action and change, do something. Oftentimes, the easiest thing is to point the blame at society, other people, your situation, and maybe there is fault to be had in those other areas. But eventually you have to get out of there. You cannot just stay put in that area and constantly point the finger. Eventually you're like, you got to put your finger down and make a move. And that's taking responsibility for your next action. Because you may not have been responsible for a particular person's action, but you do take responsibility for your action and how you respond. What's your next move? That ultimately is up to you. You don't have to be stuck there, okay? So be demure, get yourself together, apply for that job, go to the gym, practice good personal hygiene, please, also for the sake of others. Deep down, we all know what we have to do. The thing is, we have to find the courage to do it, and I think be demure is a great way to start. My husband and my family are really tired of me saying demure. I've been saying literally everything. They're all sick of me right now. So I have to go on a demure break. Part of the word trend is it means it's not everlasting. It means that it's a short-term thing. It's a phase, and that means that it'll eventually dwindle out and die out. And that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want this particular trend to die. I don't think it should just be a phase. It should just be a trend. This is one of those things that should be implemented in our life forever. And so that's what I'm really worried about. I really just don't want this to be just another trend that dies out. You know, I did see comments too that were saying, you know, like it's really sad that being respectful of others and of yourself and conducting yourself in a modest and classy way is a new trend. I understand that. It kind of is a little bit of a reflection of society. Like, it's kind of sad that it took a trend to show us this, and I totally get it. Kind of is sad, to be honest, but like I said, you'd be surprised at the things that people don't learn in their life. A lot of people don't love themselves. A lot of people don't believe in themselves. I ultimately believe that God loves us, and that is our ultimate source of value, that we were created in God's image. That alone makes me want to carry myself in a very dignified manner, because I am too made in the image of God, and Jesus ultimately died for us humans, which includes me, and that makes me feel so valuable. And because I feel so valuable, I feel like I need to protect myself. I need to protect those around me, especially the most vulnerable, the weakest. So yeah, that's Demure. It has a really, you know, I don't want to say shallow, but it has a very more practical way of practicing being demure, you know, how you dress, blah, blah. And then a deeper level of being demure in your behavior and how you think, how you treat people. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting because it encompasses so much. It's kind of funny because I remember when I was younger, also in school, I took like an etiquette class, or my mom put me in an etiquette class. Apparently I did not have good manners, so it was basically a manners class, and they taught me how to eat, how to drink out of a cup, how to walk, how to sit, not to slouch, although now I have terrible posture. So apparently I did not do a good job of making that a good habit. I'm working on it. For those of you who have watched Princess Diaries, I love Princess Diaries. There's a part when the queen is teaching Princess Mia. She's teaching her how to sit like a princess. And she's like, a princess never crosses her legs.
Princesses never cross their legs in public. Why don't you just tuck one ankle behind the other and place the hands gracefully on the knees?
I always remember that part. And now I don't cross my legs. I do the thing. I can't show you on camera, but things like that. You know, and other things too, like how to introduce yourself, how to introduce other people. As I'm saying this, it sounds really old-fashioned, but honestly, this is something that a lot of girls and boys, especially in this newer, younger generation, could use some education on, because the things I have seen as of late, even something as simple as like when you're with a friend and you meet someone, you'd be surprised at the amount of people who just, most of the time, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt. They just forgot to introduce me to the new person. But typically, it is etiquette. It is polite to introduce, oh, this is my friend, so-and-so, that meet so-and-so. It's never too late to start being demure. And even if we fall short, because we will, I fall short all the time, and we make mistakes, own it, own the mistake, and then do better. But that's it for now, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. I'm going to try my best to post a video every week. Thanks.